Hello and welcome everybody to the latest edition of the Jam and Cheese Show. Roosters fresh off a victory despite missing their superstar marquee player hooker.
Yeah, their superstar, right? It was just I had a sore calf from last week. Didn't quite get right. Like they gave me every bit of time to get it right, but it didn't quite come right 2 days before the game, so they called it quits there, and they didn't need me. Zach Docker-Clay fighting for a contract, so he was pretty stoked that he got a game and first game in NRL starting, but it was a pretty clunky win and obviously not without its drama.
It sure did have its drama. I was actually on the same flight up as the Roosters players, which is a little bit awkward at times.
It would be awkward because of this podcast, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit, but more just like like I played against probably most of the players, and then you sort of like, hi, like, hey. And then I didn't see you, so I was like...
because you ruled us out last year as well.
Did I?
They can't make it. You can't make it.
Well, I was right. You proved me wrong. If I had my chance again, I'd still say I don't think the Roosters will play finals last year. Yeah, well, you know what? With that, you forget what you say. You just forget.
Do you think if you're like Buzz or James Hooper or something, you forget? Mate,
100%.
Really?
Oh, mate, you think about like how much you talk. You forget about some of the things that you say about people. You forget about some of the the comments that you make. You just do because you forget that there's a person at the end of it. Do you know what I mean? So if you criticize someone's performance or a team or a club, like you forget that someone can take that very personally. It's just an opinion, and it's like, and I was probably the same when I was playing. I mean, I probably didn't focus too much on the media, but if someone maybe said so, I'd be like, nah, forget this person. Yeah.
He's dead to me.
Yeah.
Well, everyone's got their favourites. Like every player's got like journos they hate, and then journos they'll talk to. And
I'm not a journo though.
Yeah.
I'm not.
That's very arguable, to be honest.
No. It's not an argument. I'm not a journalist.
I see you sitting in the same seats as James Hooper and Brent Reid, so...
I'm not a journalist. That doesn't make you a journalist.
Don't take it personally. All right? Don't take it personally. It's just an opinion.
I'm going to be off, yeah. I'll see you on a flight and be like, fucking Brandon Smith. He thinks he is.
You know he calls me a journo?
He said that about me. Bellend. No, not without its controversy the weekend. We'll come back to that Roosters game in a bit and talk about Jared, but the round 25 is going to be known for some of the strange decisions, the lack of consistency by the bunker. In previous weeks, it's been obstructions. None of that came up this weekend. We've had blockers, what isn't a blocker. This week was the sin bin, or the lack of a sin bin for Stephen Crichton, which has dominated the headlines. And I think it was brought to the forefront because of what happened on Thursday. So we've had this lack of consistency for a long, long time. I think earlier on in the year, the Panthers played the Knights, and Isaac Tango shot out the line, hit Kalen Ponga in the head. I thought he should have been sin-binned. He wasn't. It was penalty sufficient and placed on report.
Taylor May.
No, Isaac Tango did.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. And then Ponga hits Tango about 5 minutes later in a textbook tackle. He gets penalised. It shouldn't have been a penalty. But that incident, I think because it was played, I think from memory, that was on a Sunday, and there was nothing the next few days. It's like, they got that one wrong, and maybe whatever, we kind of moved past it. But because 3 Manly players were sent to the sin bin on Thursday, and then less than 24 hours later, Stephen Crichton hits Roger Tuivasa-Sheck in the head with his shoulder, Roger stumbles, falls off, can't continue on. The bunker look at it and then go, that's a sin bin. Has just sent everybody crazy, and rightly so. And sorry, when I say crazy, I shouldn't use that word. Sorry, it's made a lot of people angry, and rightly so. And then even the Cam Murray incident, it looked for a long time that he wasn't going to be sin bin for the incident on Tyson Frizzell, and the Jared incident, like that. A lot of time passed there, and then it was I think there was a try scored, and it was like, oh, hang on a minute.
Yeah. It was right after the try.
Right after the try, and then he got sent. So, I mean, it's caused a lot of anger. I'm pissed off because I don't think it's that hard to get right. And when we had a little bit of a joke at the start about the effect on the people and what you say, but these big decisions, they could affect the difference between winning a game, losing a game, winning a premiership, not winning a premiership. And we know, and as a player, I know how hard it is to even get in the building of being an NRL player, playing finals, let alone getting to a grand final and eventually winning one. Like, where are you at as a player when you see this, Cheese?
I guess, like, I watched a bit of footy over the weekend, and the thing was, like, why is it happening so much, like, this week or this round? You know what I mean? You remember back, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, when they had that crackdown on the head highs and they were sending blokes in the bin for, a joke, and it ended up being like 4 people were getting sent a game, and it's starting to go that way. Like, and I feel like, I don't know, I haven't heard anything about them doing a crackdown. I haven't heard about anything like that. And for some reason this week, there just seems to be about 20 penalties for head high. Like, I don't know what they're thinking, but it's a tough one, because obviously a head high is a penalty, but then you bring in that moderate to low force, like, kind of wording. What does that mean? How do you know what's low force? How do you know what's mid force? Like, for example, the Stephen Crichton one, for me, that was very low force. That was, like, unfortunate the way that, like, he didn't throw himself into that tackle. He just unfortunately got Roger in the right spot as Roger was going sort of down, and it hit him in the head. And then I can sort of understand why he didn't go off. But when you make a reaction off the injury that happened, because Roger left the field for the whole game, it makes it, a hard one to deal with. But for me, if Roger doesn't get injured there, it's borderline penalty.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
So you're looking at it from the point of view of why are we penalising this foul play with, like, for 10 minutes in the sin bin. So you're making an argument against that, which I think is a valid argument, and happy to for the NRL to look at what is and what isn't a sin binning offence. But I think the fact that 3 Manly players got sent to the bin on Thursday and Friday at the second game of the round, Crichton does that and doesn't go.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, what on earth is going on?
Obviously the inconsistency is ridiculous. But, like, Manly guys, there's a couple of those are pretty bad.
But, man, Corey, but I don't.
Corey Waddell's one wasn't even Corey Waddell.
Well, I'm with you. That was Paseka.
Yeah.
The camera. This is when you know it's bad, when the camera focuses on Paseka. Paseka's looking like a guilty,
and he knows,
like he's going off. He's thinking to himself, "I'm off here," and then the referee just goes, Corey Waddell. It's like,
mate, I think the whole stadium and every commentator that was commentating the game was like, "What's going on here?"
Some of the terminology used as well. He's been hit with the bony part of the arm, as opposed to the non-bony part of the arm. Where does the bony part start and the non-bony part begin?
The whole arm's a bone, isn't it?
Yeah, well, there's 2. You've got your...
There's actually 3.
Radius,
ulnar, and humerus.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right there, Cheese. You're obviously present in biology class. But just...
Yeah.
What are the players thinking? Because...
First, I'm frustrated because you're ruining you're like Manly should have won that game, but they did not because of the three sin bins, and you're ruining games. And I understand that head highs are penalties and like moderate low force or whatever, but it's just you got to be more consistent because it's not right. Like I feel like you're missing a lot of good players from good games. We lost Jared for looking like 3 weeks. He's just got back. Like he's played. I think this will be his 11th week suspension this year.
Really?
Yeah, for after these 3. He's had a 4 week, and now this is a 3 week.
Well, look, there's big debate around when Joseph Suwali, he was sent in state of origin about what isn't a send off, the 10 minutes, but just I reckon you've got to find like, okay, here's what is 10 minutes in the bin, and here's what penalty sufficient is. For me, one of the things that they can do to fix this mess up is stop allowing players to lie down after they've been, quote unquote, hit in the head or had contact in the head. Wait for the referee, sort of signal to the referee that I think I've been hit in the head here. You've missed it, but I have been. Let's have a look at it on the video. Wait for your bunker to intervene, and then they'll award a penalty. So Max King was involved in 2 of those incidences. So the referee missed the shot. It was on Barnett, and Barnett was cut, and it was caused by Max King, but Barnett stays down. He doesn't leave the field for a HIA. He stays down. He goes, I'm going to do something, and I'm not questioning the integrity of Mitch Barnett here. He's playing by the rules of engagement. He's allowed to do this. For me, I think if the referee missed it and it's not worth 10 minutes in the bin, the bunker has to stay out. But also, if he stayed down, he's got to come off. That'll go one way to help it. I think it's just clear communicated guidelines on what is and what isn't a sin bin. And we can debate that. Do we want it to be like Magic Round from a couple of years ago? Definitely not. Do we want it to be like it was in the 70s, 80s, 90s? Probably not.
Absolutely not.
But what we want is when we tune in as fans, or we go to the game, or you play or you coach or administrate, that what we see in round 1 on a Thursday versus round 15 on the Sunday, round 17 the Saturday, round 25 on Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday, to look very similar in the punishment and outcomes of foul play or potential foul play. And I don't think it's that hard to achieve.
Yeah, surely the refs are watching the game and going, oh, that Manly game, that was a sin bin. I'll just send this guy to the bin.
Because the Crichton one, for me, I'm wanting the Dogs to win, but I'm like, we're going to have to tap into our spirit like we did against Parra when Kurt Mann was sent for 10 minutes for a high shot, which he deserved to go for. But they dug in while they were down to 12, and I thought it's going to be more of the same.
Yeah.
But he miraculously stayed on. He's likely going to miss a week, but he stayed on, which I think really it was unfair. It wasn't fair on the Warriors, and it's not fair for the rest of the competition.
Yeah, I think just because how we got taken from the field for the game, it's probably the only fair thing to do.
Well, yeah, Roger. If you're that referee watching that as unfold, and you see Roger stumble like he did, you go, geez, clearly something's happened here. Just
that's him. You know that's him for the game if he's stumbling and falling over. It actually looked pretty bad, eh?
The outcome wasn't great, and there's that to sort out. The blockers on the kick. Annesley said last week that this is how it's going to look from now on. I personally I disagree with him. I strongly disagree with his interpretation of these new rules in and around blockers. What are they? He asked the question. They don't need to be there. The question in response to that is, where are they supposed to go? Like as a middle forward, you just run to the sideline. The obstruction stuff, is still.
Yeah, obstruction's been an iffy one for bloody multiple years now.
It has, cheese. It has, but it seems to, again, lack consistency. Nathan Cleary was, for me, obstructed off the scrum against Melbourne last week. But what it wasn't given.
Yeah, well, I guess that's what everyone is sort of making up a fuss about. Some teams are getting better calls than other teams, and like you said before, all we want is every game to look like it's similarly reffed, not different refs, different rules. And I guess as players and fans, we want that as well. And like you said, I don't think it is hard to achieve.
No.
It's pretty comparable game. You run through a similar situation a lot of the times and different games across the week, and it just seems to be such a difference in refereeing. And I know it's hard being a ref as well. I'm not having a go at the refs. Like, there's a lot of decisions to be made, but those ones that the bunker make, they should be way more consistent.
Yeah, well, that's right. As a referee, you feel the vision, you fatigue. There's so many variables, so many distractions out there for you as the referee to focus on. We sometimes see them get in the road, like poor old Ashley Klein did on Sunday. But again, that's a mistake that I think we can tolerate.
Yeah,
because like Dragons fans won't want to like to hear that, and Zach Lomax scores, and maybe the game looks different. But that is a mistake where you go, he's just shit out of luck there.
Yeah.
But these ones that are happening in the bunker with the amount of angles and replays and points of view and the ability to take the time you've just got to get them right. Things like, was that a strip or was that a loose carry? Those debates will rage on for as long as the game will exist. So there's an example on the weekend. I think the Titans challenged a loose carry, Parra. And for me, it did look like Docker Clay sort of punched up at the ball a little bit.
Yeah.
But he said it was a loose carry. And the referee in the bunker has said he's just affecting a tackle. And that, you know what? That's fair enough. I thought it was a strip or there was an action from Docker Clay. The referee didn't. And that incident would maybe be split 50-50, 55-45.
Well, it's sort of like the try, isn't it? Because he sent it up as with a little comment. He said, "I've just got him making the tackle in the action of making a tackle," and then the bunker's already got that in his head, and he's going, "Well, I'm going to lean on the side of it. If it's not over 50% looking like a strip, then it's going to be a knock on."
Yeah, you have to disprove it. Another one in the bunker for me, I thought Sua Falongo's put down was on the dead ball line.
I reckon it was definitely on the dead ball line.
And I know the ball is obviously curved and it's got to touch somewhere, but for me, it was simultaneous green and simultaneous white. There was an element of the ball that was placed down on the white when he first got to that football.
Yeah.
And even, again, he looks surprised. And I've yet to see an angle that disproves that. And people say, the bunker have got these angles. Well, let's see. Let's get a clear photograph. Not somebody taking this photograph of the television. I need to see the evidence. I've not seen that, but we've got 2 rounds of football left, then a final series, which is shaping up to be an enthralling final series. 3 clear favourites, all for me about neck and neck. Then you've got some people or some clubs not far behind them. And those should be the stars of the show. The best team out of the Roosters, the Storm, the Panthers, the Dogs, the Cowboys, the Seagulls, the Sharks, and Dragons / maybe Broncos, Dolphins, or whoever. They should be deciding who wins this premiership, not a referee or
the bunker.
No,
I agree.
You know all we need now for these next 2 rounds? A couple of downtown penalties. Just to really...
the disruptor ones.
The disrupt. There was one on the weekend that was one of the most blatant disruptors. I think it was Tristan Saylor. It's just like, how is that not a disruptor?
You know what happened when Billy Slater had a go at the refs the go at the NRL about making stupid rules and stuff like that. The disruptor just went missing.
Yeah.
Ever since that Origin game when Billy Slater's like, we've made up stupid rules that should never have been made up. And then that's how much power Billy Slater holds in this game. He just got rid of the disruptor in one word.
Well, yeah, don't be surprised to see a downtown come as a timely reminder. Anyway,
that is a woeful penalty if you if you give it away.
It's a nightmare. Anyway, let's get into that Roosters victory. There was a lot to like about the Roosters, but I think there's a fair bit of improvement there, right?
Yeah, I mean the attack was nice, but just I guess we get into this mood when we've put a bit of points on that we just like go into frenzy mode and just you smell blood and you just want to properly destroy the opposition, whereas and try to score as many points as you can, and then you start throwing the ball around. But I don't think it's good practice to go into when you want to play against them top 4 teams. Obviously, we haven't had a win against the top 4 team this year, and I don't know if or whatever that plays a part in it, because it's kind of a little bit of immaturity trying to just put away teams by 50 points that are coming third last. But at the same time, it's good practice when things get erratic, but it's a double-edged sword, I think, and letting them score 16 points is also not something. But in our team's defence, it's some pretty lucky tries as well.
Does it worry you, Cheese, that you've not beaten a top 4 team? The recent record of the Roosters against the Storm and the Panthers has been so heavily against you guys.
Nah, it doesn't worry me at all. But it's just about building throughout these next 2 games that sort of maturity level that you need to put away a team like Panthers or Melbourne and Sharks. Just that finishing a game off, I guess ruthlessly, holding the ball that's our Achilles heel is just penalties and possession. We never have. Whenever we lose, we never have a good share of possession. We've always got a terrible share of possession, and just against those top teams like Melbourne and Penrith, you can't give them the ball. You can't give them the ball as much as you have it, and that's what I guess Robbo's been saying that over the last couple of weeks, but I don't think we've reacted to it as good as we should.
Yeah, what was alarming for me for the Roosters, Jared was sent for 10 minutes. You didn't concede, which is great. That's awesome. But with the ball, you made 3 errors. In 3 errors in 10 minutes, one from the base of the scrum. Like when you're down to 12, you sort of, I don't know, you don't go into your shell or stop throwing shape. But for me, you certainly would have an emphasis on get to your end of your sets. Yeah. And if we do make one error with the ball, then let's not make another one.
Yeah, I mean, the emphasis of getting to the end of the set should start in the first play of the game, and then it's just extra heightened when you've got 12 men. And mate, don't worry, I was in the room just pacing, just swearing at the screen like, "What the fuck are you doing?" That scrum one was a perfect example of what if we do that against Melbourne or Penrith, that's a try. They're making you pay for that.
Yeah,
especially with 12 men. You can talk all you want about your defence, but the attack these days is just getting so good, especially against 12 men, that you can't afford to just give them the ball straight away. And also, the thing I didn't like about that play is you had Satili Tupanua in the centre in a lot of the scrum plays where we had not run that play once with him at centre.
Yeah, right. Okay.
You know what I mean? And then you're running that high pressure pass play with someone who hasn't run the play once. that was, something that if I was playing, I probably would have mentioned, but I probably would have got told shut up. So doesn't matter.
To be fair to Tupanua, he did a great job.
Mate,
He was awesome.
His last 5 weeks, he's been one of our best, and I'm stoked for him. And it was really emotional for him last week with his 100th, because he being in and out of the team, injuries and stuff, and being such a massive part of that club. I knew how special it was for him and for Robbo, even just to get him to that 100 game. And I think these last 5 rounds are showing how much the club means to him, and how much he's going to be missed, and how much we're going to miss him when he goes to the Bulldogs. And,
Dogs.
And it's a great signing for the Bulldogs if you've watched those last 5 games.
Yeah,
it's a great signing.
He's been enormous. Well, I guess one of the reasons he's moving on is the lack of game time available in the back row. But Angus Crichton, it was great to watch him up against Fafita, and I think it looked personal. There was a couple of times they were verbling one another. We could sort of see them going at each other, and Fafita came off for a little bit, and I think Angus got the upper hand.
Yeah, I think he won bloody unanimous decision, 3 tries. I remember watching one play, and Angus had tackled her and they were standing, and I could see he was saying something in his ear, and I would love to be there and know what he said. I'll ask him. I'll get the inside goss for the listeners, hopefully.
What's the go with that tape?
Mate,
is that for show?
It's actually hilarious.
Is that for show?
No, he fell off. He's got an electric skateboard, goes like 40k an hour, and he fell off. He fell off his electric skateboard. This was ages ago, and mate, he's got like these gashes.
Ah, right, on both of
his elbows, and they're like properly infected. You can't. They've been around for months though. And they just keep reopening because we keep playing. And they just keep reopening. But we actually asked him, "Why do you wear that? What? It's just to hold the Band-Aid on."
Oh really? Mate, it's a bit excessive.
The whole white thing is just to hold a Band-Aid on this big. He got made fun of for a little bit, and so.
Hey, it's not come without its consequence, that win. Jared charged. He'll face 3 games if he accepts, 4 if he fights and loses it. We don't know what's going to happen, but what do you reckon? What do you think he does?
I don't think he fights it, because if he fights it, I'm not saying this. It's potential to out for the season, because.
Or back for the GF.
Yeah, or back for the GF.
Or being well, it'd be back for the GF.
But we need him for the finals games.
He'll definitely miss week 1.
Yeah, but the second week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You reckon it's too big a risk?
And he's fought all of his challenges this year and lost all of them.
Well, the record at the judiciary for anyone this year has been shocking.
Yeah.
They don't seem to want to entertain people challenging.
It almost sounds like they're egotistic in that bloody judiciary room. It's like, nah, we're right, you're wrong.
You could make a very strong case for that. Suolihi as well.
Nah, he's sweet.
Is he sweet, Matt? I thought he concussed himself. He went low early, head on the wrong side. It could have. He actually.
I think he just had like a sublux and it hit a nerve and it just deadened his arm. So he thought he had broken it, like he had pins and needles. And he couldn't move it or anything. So the medical staff thought that he had broken it, but I seen him today. Sweet.
Oh, good. That's good. Well, let's get on to the race for the 8. Let's talk about the positive things. So it's a 5-horse race. So the top 7 is locked in. I think pretty much it's safe to say, with the Sharks winning against the Dragons, the top 4 is locked in. Melbourne will definitely finish first, and then the final positions of 2, 3, and 4 is TBC, most likely depending on if the Sharks can get 2 wins. I think 5, 6, 7 positions will get figured out. Dogs play Manly this week, which is going to be huge, and then the Dogs play the Cowboys as well. So 2 of those teams that are in the mixer, Dogs will both play. But then 8th position, currently held by the Dragons, who play the Eels and the Raiders. Now, the way the Dragons are going, they're not locked in to win those 2, but the games that they they should win, but we all understand what pressure does to people and teams and groups of people. In the hunt to take over from the Dragons, the Broncos, the Broncos, the Dolphins, the Knights, and the Raiders. The situation is as simple as this: for one of those 4 teams to make the final, to take over from the Dragons, they need to ensure that they win their next 2 games, and the Dragons lose at least 1. Or I guess they could probably win 1 and hope that the Dragons lose 2.
This week coming up is a do or die for Dolphins or Broncos.
Yes.
The loser of that game is now out.
Is out, yes.
And then
the Knights.
The Raiders is do or die against us this week.
Yes, it is, yeah. Pretty much. Again, unless everybody just... Oh, no, you're because of the fact that the Broncos and the Dolphins play with the Raiders for and against. If they lose against the Roosters, you guys, they're gone.
They're gone.
But if they win, they could play the Dragons.
So it'll be just a 2-horse race after this week. It would
be
if we win
1, 2, no, 3. Because if the Knights beat the Titans, so one of the Dolphins and Broncos are going to be alive. The Dragons will still be alive. The Knights could be alive if they win, but if the Raiders lose to you guys, they are gone. Now, there's a lot to take in there. You know what? If you're the Knights, I know it's been a long season, but you look back to 1 week ago and you bombed that opportunity against the Sharks.
Mm.
I reckon if they'd have won that, I'd have put the Knights in. But the Dragons, I don't have. They should beat the Eels and the Raiders, but I don't have confidence that they can put the 2 games together.
Yeah, and I don't think...
And I don't know
I think they can win both those games. It's just a matter of will they.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm the same. The worry for the Broncos is that Storm look like they're going to rest the Cowboys this week.
Yeah.
Which
yeah,
doesn't help
their
their cause
against
the Storm, because they'll just be far too good. And the Broncos, they started really poorly against the Eels. They're hot and cold, and yeah, I just don't think...
All you've got to do is look at the record with Storm against Broncos.
Yes,
it is
true.
Absolutely disgusting. I think Bellamy, it's one of those games that he just puts on his calendar. Them and Rabbits, I think he's got a big fancy for. And like the last time Broncos beat Storm was when Storm had no one.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then they beat them the following week in the final when Pappenhausen had that injury. So that's in favour of the Broncos, obviously. But yeah, that's why for me the Knights bombed that opportunity last week against the Sharks. But they could still mount a challenge, but it's going to be out of their hands. I want to say the Dragons get the job done, actually. I don't know if I trust any of those teams to win their remaining 2.
Yeah, I think the Dragons is the best chance as well. I think they just need to win 1.
Yeah,
because
you know what?
I don't think Knights beat Dolphins on Jesse Bromwich's last ever game. I think it's a big one.
Okay, yeah. So basically, the Dragons need to win 2 to guarantee, but 1 could get them in due to the fact that none of the other contenders, the Broncos, the Dolphins, the Knights, or the Raiders, will be able to get 2 victories out of that. Anyway, it's great that it's this exciting and there's lots of different scenarios to play out, and finals has come a little bit early. You spoke there, Cheese, about Craig Bellamy. He's going to be one of the contenders for Coach of the Year. It's incredible what he's just keeps on replicating down there.
Yeah, it's incredibly annoying too. I'm 0-5 against him. Would you like me to talk about Craig?
I mean, you can if you want. What is it? What? Especially with okay, we know he works with some brilliant players like Jerome Hughes, Cam Munster, Harry Grant, Pappenhausen, right? And he's done that before with players like Cronk, Slater, and Smith. But talk to us about a bloke like Wishart, who I was at the Dragons with. He was playing New South Wales Cup. Respectfully, he was not looking like he had a pathway to first team. Probably the same. I could say the same thing about a guy like Bronson Garlick. I was at the Bulldogs with him. He was playing New South Wales Cup, and nothing was like singing out to me like this guy's going to go and play first grade somewhere. But under Bellamy's watch, both of those individuals have become, especially Wishart, really good players.
Yeah, well, like Wishart, for me, like Craig's got a bit to do with it, but how he is as a person off the field has got a big part to play in it. And
but he was still that person off the field when he was
yeah, I know, but now I was going to say that now his environment's changed and there's more people like him around, you know what I mean? Like there was obviously a couple like that at Dragons, but Craig's crazy ability is he gets the best out of his players and they react to what he says. And it's not because he yells at you or like, you know, trains your guts off. He makes you want to play for him because he builds that connection on a personal level. There's not a single day you couldn't just walk into his office and talk rubbish and, you know, you could his attention to detail and little things in your game, his attention to detail about your personal life. Like he doesn't get too involved in your personal life, but how your family is and their safety and their well-being, like that's a big part of Craig's, I guess, mission statement. He reads his mission statement to you and it's got a bit to do about your family and their welfare and that's a big part to play in how you play on the field. And just like your want to play for a guy like that. And I'll give you an example of like when I realised I loved Craig was when I got in trouble with that scandal, I was getting yelled at and sprayed at by the CEO and the general manager, Frank, and the CEO, Justin Rodsky. And I was just sitting there copping it. And it was proper yelling at. And I remember Craig just stood up and just said, I don't give a fuck what these two are saying to you right now. You go home and you make sure your parents are okay with what you've done. And then I'm okay with what you've done. And then, boom, I just left the room and I was like, holy shit, he just told the CEO to fuck up. And I was like, stuff like that, you're like, this guy is a guy that cares about you more than Brandon Smith, the footy player.
And he probably knew that it was hurting your family more than it was hurting you.
Yeah, it was. That's the thing. And he's got this crazy ability. It's always a laugh as well. It's like everyone sees Craig as this like serious ass guy, and he can be that guy come game day, come while you're training. Yeah. But everything outside of like direct training is a fun environment and like a lot of joking. He's an absolute prankster. He doesn't mind getting tricked and stuff like that, and all that sort of combination, and also living in Melbourne is a big advantage. You don't get any press down there. You don't get annoyed in the public area by anyone. You don't, obviously, in the pubs and stuff. You're just left alone.
I suppose you have to come together as well.
Yeah,
like there's no outside. And
you don't know.
Groups.
Yeah, you don't know anyone outside of the people in that four walls. Like I probably had like 3 friends outside of the people that I knew at Melbourne. You're going to cafes every day together, before training, after training, lunch, breakfast, dinners together.
Yeah, your days off, you're not socialising with.
Yeah, and you don't have like most.
And that can be like I used to enjoy socialising with my like non-football friends.
Well, that group as well. We all lived in Richmond. None of us had families like there. Yeah. None of us had kids. Like a lot of them playing now don't have kids. They hang out all the time, but like on the footy side of things, it's just he'll find one thing that he wants you to get better at, and then once you've got better at that one thing, he'll find another thing. Yeah. So like Wishart, his would have been his defence, and he would have made him work on that for so long. But then also he would push you to work on your best strengths. So his would obviously be his dummy and all stuff like that, and he'd make you make that even better and better and better. And he's not too involved on a team level, so he gives his talks every now and then, but individually he'll help you out wherever you need to be. I think after every game he'll come in, you go in and he's got like 3 clips for you, and then he'll say where you can improve or keep doing this and that. Other than that, I think it's the environment of the walls that you're in. Like Mark Bretnall's an absolute genius of an attack coach as well. They've got the wrestling coach, John Donahue. He's a great wrestling coach. I think he was Nelson Mandela's bloody security guard for a bit, so he knows what he's up to. I think it was Nelson Mandela. But that whole environment, it's just bred for success, and it starts from Frank Panisi, Craig, and then goes all the way down, filtered in. So
he's making a very strong candidate for Coach of the Year again. They are absolutely flying. You mentioned there about mission statement, right? Segues nicely into our next topic. So, mission statement of the Parramatta Eels for season 2024 right now is do not win the wooden spoon or avoid the wooden spoon. That is what they are aiming to do. It's not a successful season, but now they have this challenge to avoid the wooden spoon. They play the Tigers in round 27. But before they play the Tigers in round 26, the Tigers have the bye. So they'll be nice and fresh. Right? The Parramatta Eels play the Dragons. If the Parramatta Eels win that game against the Dragons, nothing changes. They still need to win against the Tigers to avoid the spoon. So basically, in my eyes, the Parramatta Eels, if that is their mission statement, should rest their better players
crazy, bro.
against the Dragons in order to prepare for the wooden spoon bowl.
I shouldn't laugh, but that's fucking crazy.
What's crazy?
Resting players to not win the wooden spoon. That's so...
I don't think it's that crazy. I
don't think it's crazy. It's kind of sad, though.
Yeah, it is. Well, it is. But for me, it's logical, and people it's a lot, and it's a game of emotions. But if you are setting out to avoid the wooden spoon, not win that prize, or whether you win it or whether you call it a prize, whatever the language, because people will remember that you won the wooden spoon. What they won't remember, or what they will happily gloss over, is the fact you threw a game in round 26 against the Dragons.
Well, also, it's not a bad idea in terms of next year as well. You can rest your guns and give your players that you think you are having a look at for next year, you can give them a shot and see what they got.
That's how you could dress it up.
Yeah.
We're just going to trial a few players. But because obviously the risk is injury, suspension, medical suspension. For example, you fail a HIA, and fatigue. And I wouldn't be so forthcoming with this idea if the Tigers had a regular season game to play as well, or if the Eels beat the Dragons, that they then avoid the wooden spoon. But it doesn't matter what happens against the Dragons. They are playing the Tigers in a Spoonbowl game the following week. It would obviously cause a media storm if the Eels were to do this. But it'd be a ballsy move from Trent Barrett to do it. And I think logically, emotionally, it doesn't make sense, but logically speaking, it does.
It's absolutely sad, bro.
I know it's sad, and it's a sign.
At least we've got a cracker game at the end of the year.
We do.
We've got an absolute belter of a game at the end of the year.
It's a sad reflection of where the Eels are at and the fall from grace.
If Benji wins, is that a successful season? He's finished higher than he.
Well, but basically, I don't. For the Tigers, it's neither here nor there. I think for the Eels, it is. I think the Tigers, on on a club level, if they win another wooden spoon, they're still going to look at this season and go, we've improved, and I think that's a fair assessment. There's still a lot of improvement in them, but I think whether or not they finish 16th or 17th and win another wooden spoon, it's not going to make any difference. But for the Eels, they wouldn't look at it as finishing 16th. They're just going to look at it as avoid the spoon. We've had a shocking year. There's a multitude of reasons as to why, but let's not win the spoon again. We actually spoke to Timmy Manor about his feelings about winning that wooden spoon. He beat the Titans in a game, in a Spoonbowl game, and how delighted he was to avoid it. And it's going to be a packed house. Like, it's going to sell out. So you might as well peak for that game.
Well, I think the Tigers are taking it pretty seriously.
Well, they've got to buy.
Because there was a few players after the game when they got interviewed, they spoke about it.
It was a huge win against Manly.
No, but they spoke about playing the last round against them, and specifically spoke about not winning the wooden spoon.
So for me, from an external point of view, it probably doesn't matter as much for the Tigers, but it does for Parra. I think they've got more to lose in this than the Tigers do. I wonder if Benji will go on holiday in the bar this week. Little break to Fiji.
You too, man.
Little break to Fiji. No, I am joking.
I think he actually will.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just something I wanted to toss up. Well, not toss up. It's something that I was thinking about on the spot, and some people get very offended by this idea, and it's like,
I'm not offended. I feel bad.
I know some people feel bad. Some people, mate, you can't do that. It's like, yes, you can, because Melbourne are, in all likelihood, are going to rest 10 players against the Cowboys this week. But they're doing it to freshen up for the finals.
That's
Why?
Okay.
That's okay. That's not affecting the integrity of the competition. They've earned their right to do that by finishing already minor premiers with 3 weeks to go or 2 weeks to go. But now we're going to say, oh no, how dare you do it to avoid the spoon? I know in the Premier League, if this is
because it's not a real trophy.
Yeah, I know, but it's a tag. It's
a title.
It is a title.
It's a lordship.
If you look up on the internet, wooden spoon winners, they'll have it a year by year, but you don't look up second to last. There's no tag with that. There's no identity with that. And you know that next year, whenever last year's wooden spooners, the Parramatta Eels. But yeah, no one will complain about, well, maybe some people will complain about the Melbourne Storm resting players and the integrity of the competition. Or it's more, for me, the argument more with the Melbourne Storm is, do you rest those players in round 26 or do you rest them in round 27? But for me, there's been people who are so offended. It's you can't do that. Yes, you can. As long as you pick players in your top 30. Now, I know they're busted with injuries.
No, I understand. It's just a very sad predicament for Parra to be in.
It is cheese. Anyway,
they were in the finals last year?
No, not last year. They played the grand final the year before, 2022. 23, they missed the 8. 24, they started poorly. They sacked Brad Arthur. They went to Brisbane to try and get Wayne Bennett. That failed, and they got Barrett in, and then obviously signed Jason Riles for next year.
To think the Broncos, Rabbitohs, and Parra are likely to not make the finals this year is crazy, and maybe a testament to the talent coming through,
and a testament to the strength of our competition.
Yeah.
It's funny, I actually read a thing on how it's Penrith dominance is a bit of a shit thing for the league, that they won 3 in a row, and that the fact that they've been up, they've played in 4 grand finals in a row, maybe a 5th, but they've had their squad eaten at and picked apart. But you compare that to things like the Premier League, Manchester City. They'll win the treble, and they'll add to their squad.
Who did they just get? They just got someone good.
They bought in. They bought back. From
Gwaine.
from Barca. So, like, they get to do that. Or like, and they've got all these charges against them, 115 charges to answer for. And they win the league. And Haaland, like, you know, I'm trying to think of it. Like, Ipswich Town don't just go, or Brentford don't just go, oh, we're just going to make a play for Haaland here. It's like, no. Like, yeah.
Yeah, but isn't like, the salary? What's the salary cap over there? There's no cap.
There isn't a cap. It's like financial fair play, which is basically, well, that's what City are facing allegations, or a lot of the allegations are around that, not providing information, dodgy payments to managers, and all this contract stuff. It's, yeah. Anyway, I think our competition is amazing, and what Penrith have done is, in the salary capped era and the players that have left, is sensational. Obviously, with no Nathan, I guess we'll see what happens. But anyway, Cheese, we'll get to some questions. You know what? Actually, I've got to say this. Going back to what we touched on at the start, and like the referees and the bunker and the inconsistency. You know why it matters that they get decisions right? Because on the weekend, we saw 2 grown men cry on their last home games, because that's what it means to people. That's what it means to the players. So Sean Johnson walks out and he said, it buckled me. And that's what it means to him, that he buckled by that emotion. And then fast forward to the game, the Canberra Raiders, Elliot Whitehead did an interview with Laura Pitt after the game. He's crying. Like a grown man's crying because of this game. And yet the bunker and the people that make those decisions can't get it right. It's more than sport. It's like people say about sport being a business now, and it is, and there's so much on the line, but you're dealing with people's like raw emotions. Like to see Elliot, like good friend of mine, shared so many fond memories with him, but
I didn't see that.
Yeah, he had a great interview, and he was in tears, mate. And it's like that's an example of what it means to people, and you can't get these decisions right. But anyway, I need to stop talking about the bunker. Let's have a look at these questions, Cheese. First one is from Will Morton. Jam and Cheese, why is Jared Weir-Hargreaves incapable of not getting put on reporter in the bin for 2 games in a row? And then he's got a bit of a laughing emoticon. Is it just the way he plays, Cheese? Is it just
I just
what
think
you see is
you
what
can't
you get?
compromise his way of thinking, his way of life, and his way of playing the game. You can't compromise it. He can't compromise it. He's going out there to, you know, enforce his will on people, and unfortunately, this game is weeding that out. So it's unfortunate, but it's just how he is.
Yeah, I've heard Coach Robinson speak about him. He's like, he plays at that line, and that's what we.
But like, he's a guy that won't. He won't. I guess. Like, he won't sit down for anyone, and like he plays and lives the way he is, and you can't. He won't. Will never compromise it. It's unfortunate sometimes, like now, but.
I tell you what,
respect it as well.
You do. You do have to respect it. And I think one of the things I admire about Jared is the fact that he hasn't changed, despite facing, public pressure to change who he is.
Yeah,
he's never.
Yeah, he's still the same around training. He wants to kill you at training as well. It's just how he is and who he is.
I do fear for his.
His career in
the English Super League with the tackle height being lowered, Will Morton is incapable of not getting put on reporter in the bin for 2 games in a row. I reckon it'll be each stint he plays over there. He'll be facing a lot of time on the sidelines. Gaz Rolo 8. Oh no, not Gaz Rolo 8. Sorry, Tony. Linky Pinky 87. You're in your early 20s, prime footy ahead of you. You win Lotto 100 million. Are you still playing? I'm going to go yes.
Yeah, I am.
like money can't buy that feeling.
No. I am, and you just won't know about it, but there will be signs. There will be signs.
Yeah, it'd be hard to maintain.
I'd almost play for minimum wage. I'd say fucking,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Give me a contract, Robbo.
Yeah.
Pre-season, I do 2 to 3 days a week. But during the season, I'm
all in.
40K. I'm 40K a season, bro.
Krishina.Nanda. Is it possible to get Charlie White in the PWA, the Pro Wrestling Australia? I want to check the rig. We've got some. What
would his name be? The Slender Man.
That'd be we might have some news coming soon about PWA and.
I only just saw that video actually.
Which video?
On the socials.
Of what?
My missus showed me it.
What was the video?
The one of that guy talking about that you'd punch Grayson Waller in the face if they said it to your face.
Oh, right, yeah.
Great man, that guy. See, I like that guy. Is he a wrestler?
He is, yeah.
I might get behind him.
Yeah, there might be an announcement coming soon. Maybe I might be needing a tag team partner. I don't know if I'll be going with Charlie White, though. He could be like... Charlie could be like Paul Bearer. Or you know what Charlie White would be like? Gilberg.
Goldberg?
No, Gilberg. So
was it Gold Dust?
No, so Goldberg was in WCW. So to piss them off, WWF did Gilberg. And he was like this skinny, bald dude dressed in the same.
I know who you're talking about now.
Gilberg. That's Charlie White. That's who he'd be. He'd need to shave his lovely locks off. But yeah. All right, that's all we've got time for. Cheese. You sweet to play this week, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. All right, Magic. Thanks for listening, everyone.